this. So a little introduction. And there's a lot of introduction. We could go so many directions this morning with this conversation and with our guest. And I'm guessing that Greg's not able to join us this morning, which is fine. But both of these guys, I'm sorry?
He might be showing up. I know he's running at the office right now. I end up staying home, so
they're both, and others are as well, with the American Indians of Texas, the Spanish Colonial Missions, the folks here in San Antonio who have been around a long time. And in fact, they have been around longer than San Antonio has been San Antonio. Maybe not by the name of that organization, of course, but a lot longer than San Antonio has been around. And through the domestic violence prevention via the Faith Community Collaborative and the Valentine's Day gathering that we had, the Fatherhood Campaign was one of the things that was shared and explained, and just so important and such a great model in community, culturally, but I mean, in community. I mean, it could be replicated and probably needs to be replicated everywhere. So it dawned on me, we really needed to hear more about this at the intersection. More people needed to know. So I invited Sammy to talk a little bit about the new center that just, had their big to-do last Friday, and then tell us about the Fatherhood Campaign. He can only be with us till 8:30 because he has some training going on. So Sammy, it's all yours.
Yeah, I got BIP training, so we're becoming BIP certified here at the San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign, so that we can offer another, diversify our services as opposed to the BIP. We're also going to be doing what we do, which is La Cultura Cura, which is really part of the indigenous culture, which is part of the indigenous philosophy that we carry through Jerry Thale, who's from the National Compadres Network. Jerry Thale and AIT got together 3 decades ago in order to form the first ever indigenous nonprofit organization, which has grown from a grassroots beginning, where they went and were trying to start healing circles with the community back in the day, where I think there was a little boy named Giovanni who had got killed by his parents in a very nationally recognized CPS case. And at that time, people on the West Side, Papa Bear and some of the founders, Frank Castro, got together and say, what's going on here? We're all these men, we're all the men here, in San Antonio on the West Side and the East Side, and after doing some research, they realized, these men were either, dead or in jail or homeless or, with their second baby mama, and they said, we need to do something. We need to start a campaign, called it the Father Campaign, to try to bring men back into the fold of families, put them in their rightful position of running the families and leading the families. And of course, having the wife there who's an even partner who also collaborates, and, through interdependence between the two of them, they raise their kids, with the same vision. I'm always telling the guys, and the ladies in our class, not to play this good cop, bad cop thing that causes a lot of strife in marriages. When one parent says, no, don't do it, but then you go the other parent who always says yes. That causes a lot of strife in marriages as well. So, but to just go back to the AIT, they've been around for a while, and they've been beating this drum. Our slogan is keeping the culture alive. So for 31 years, we've been beating this drum. And I think through the pandemic, and then people reaching out for more services, because CPS blew up. I think there was an 18% increase of domestic violence about a month or two right after the pandemic started. I know Patricia and her company as well as ours, the San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign, really started, just getting inundated with just so many, outside resources. Hey man, can you help us out? Can you help us out? And we blew up, right before the pandemic. The San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign, I was the only facilitator doing 6 classes. And back then I was the lead facilitator. Today I'm the manager, and I got 9 facilitators doing 32 classes a week. So we have grown substantially. There's a huge need. And me and Patricia, we're like in 4 different, task force, for domestic violence. Me and her are trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? And with all of us together, and I got to tell you the truth. I'm a deeply rooted Christian man, Bible thumper, Jesus freak guy. You can call me whatever you want, doesn't matter. This was the missing component, I think. This piece, this getting the churches involved, getting people involved in the higher power, whether it be God, Buddha, whatever it is. I'm not here to convert people. I'm just here to say that, hey, there's something bigger than us that drives us. There's something bigger than us that we can go as a resource in order for us to ourselves go through this transformation that we need to go through. And I was telling the guys last night, and I showed the newscast of the most recent death by partner, the 43-year-old gentleman, shooting his 7-year-old daughter with a gun and killing her, and then shooting his wife. We should never have to get to that point, where people feel that way. And it's really hard for me to understand. To fathom, I love my children so much, and I love people in general so much, that they would take that type of action. So I think it's real important that the church gets involved, and then we somehow, I don't know, has to be something huge has to happen, because I know Patricia's been doing this for 30-something years, and I know Jerry Theo and them been doing it for 40 years. And sometimes when I sit in, these huge meetings with people, and to have people who've been doing this for decades say that nothing's changed, that's hardening. That's heartbreaking. And the thing is that all of us in this picture, we're constantly trying to do something and constantly trying to make a difference and make some type of change. For some reason, nothing's changing, which is why I think this right here is going to be the one that cracks it. I think this is going to be important. And I think it kind of lines up with, what AIT does. AIT does everything from a very deeply rooted indigenous perspective. We believe, just like our following, just like the founders of our company and their ancestors, that we as individuals are like one with everything around us. We're ones that that worship the ground we walk on. We worship the air and the waters and the moon and the sun and the stars, because everything has significance in life. Everything coexists for a reason. Everything has to work together in order for us to have some type of harmony. I'm getting ready to turn 60 years old, and the only time I remember the word harmony is I remember Elton John sung a song called Harmony back in the 70s. And other than that, it's about the only time you ever hear the word harmony. People just you don't hear it enough because people don't know the definition of it. We're constantly at war with each other, not just in the political environment, but and it seems like everything else that goes on in government, civil, whether it's state level or city level, it's just it's just so much chaos, and we need to somehow or another bring some type of peace to everything that's going on around us.
Sam, could you tell us a little bit about what's contained, the components in that training for the Fatherhood Campaign? Could you break that down a little bit?
Yeah. So we go through what's called a healing model. And what we do, it's like a 4-step program of acknowledgement, understanding, integration, and movement. And it's all done through what we call our 4 valores, which is truth and love and dignity and respect. We shoot straight for the heart. That's what we do. We believe that in every single person that lives and walks on this earth, there's a spirit person inside of it. And our job is to tap into that. As a San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign and our philosophy with La Cultura Cura, we believe that the culture cures, that there's something within all of our cultures, whether it's a Mexican culture, an African culture, a Puerto Rican culture, a Caucasian, doesn't matter what culture, we all come from different, lineages and different types of bloodlines, that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, from over the oceans and all over the place. So we want to be able to tap into those cultural beliefs, because those have a lot to do with what we're going through now. We're constantly teaching, being that we're a Black and brown company, we're always looking at things through a perspective of the Black and brown experience. What have our people gone through? What systemic, what historic, what generational problems have we had to go through? And it's through tapping into that and getting people to understand that, hey, we can rise through this by healing ourselves. Because think about it, when they let the slaves go, none of them went to go sit down and talk to a counselor about what they went through or what they saw happen to their grandfather or their grandmother or their brother or their sister. They just let them out, and they let that trauma just grow. And they let that trauma compound over years, decades and decades, centuries and centuries, and it still exists today. You can just see it. And what
How many sessions are in this training? And is it just for men, or who comes to that?
It's for men and women. Matter of fact, when I got to the campaign 5 years ago, I remember after about a month, I went up to Greg, my director, and said, "Hey, Greg, I thought this place is called the Fatherhood Campaign." He goes, "Well, it is, Sam." I'm like, "Well, why are there nothing but women here?" I mean, my whole class was full of nothing but women. I was like, "Where are all the men at? I mean, we're the Fatherhood Campaign, and where are the guys at?" And Greg was telling me, "Well, that's the problem. We can't get the guys here." It's like, okay, well, we need to fix that, we just, we kind of just changed up things a little as far as how we operated the class. When I kind of came in, I mean, I think we are just like everybody else. I had a little projector thing in my hand, click, 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 and just looking at everybody, kind of like putting their heads down, falling asleep. And I just said, "Man, let's scooted the projector over," and we got in a circle, just like Jerry showed us, and we started doing it that way. We had what we call an altar in the middle, burning sage, and everybody brings something, a picture or something that that is a reason why they're in these classes, a reason why they want to change, the reason why they need to change, and that in that piece, that item that they bring for 9 weeks reminds them why they're there. And then once we get them on that road of transformational health and healing, and it's always so beautiful. I had some guys graduate last night, and I let all the men and the women in my classes graduate do what's called a reflection. And what they do is kind of like a graduation speech, basically, and to give these people the opportunity to express themselves. I had a couple guys graduate last night, and both of them said, "You know what? Before I got to this class, I was extremely introvert. I didn't talk to nobody. But after about the second, third week, after I saw everybody just, emotionally throwing all their stuff up, being sexually assaulted and, having, these ugly relationships with their parents and so forth, they said, "Hey, well, I'm going to do it too then." And it's in creating that healing circle for both men and women where they feel comfortable. And not that, but it's a non-judgment zone that needs to be created. The classes are powerful. I just recently had 21 students from Our Lady of the Lake University come and sit in my classes for the second time. And one of these students contacted me after contacting her professor, Dr. Catherine, and said, "Hey, can I reach out to them? Because I really want to go work for them." She right now she's a teacher. She works with elementary and middle school kids and sometimes high school kids. But when she went through just 6 hours of our class, 3 classes, 2 hours of class, she says she was just totally moved by everything that happened because she had a bad relationship with her father, and she could resonate with how these men have relationships with their own children and with their wives. The first time we did this 2 years ago, I became a published author because of it. It was such a powerful thing that happened that Dr. Catherine Anderson, myself, and 2 of her students published a chapter in what's considered the psychological Bible for college professors of how to help their students get more involved in the actual the cities that they're in, and to find ways to be a catalyst of change for those they're going to help once they graduate. So
we've had a question in the chat about how someone could sign up for one of these classes. So it's 9 weeks. I get that. I'm guessing once a week for 9 weeks.
Yeah, once a week for 2 hours.
Mhm.
It's either we do domestic violence classes, which we call Healing the Wounded Spirit, and we do parenting classes that we call Raising Children with Pride. Pride is an acronym for purpose, responsibility, interdependence, development, and enthusiasm. The thing is that we want to always look at tackling the core of the family, which is the parents, so that the parents can bring, the rest of the kids into the fold of healthy relationships and strong relationships, that are based on love and compassion and loyalty and, encouragement and all these other things that, a lot of these people that come to our doors just don't ever hear. One thing, none of them were taught those things. The population we deal with here on the east side and the west side, is anywhere under, the poverty level, 1, 2 to 300% under the poverty level. And a lot of these people don't have cars. A lot of these people have broken relationships. They have no relationships with their family. They have very few support people to look into, which is why I think the church is so critical in this piece, because a lot of these people don't have anybody. I mean,
so does the Fatherhood Campaign intentionally work with congregations? I mean, is there
no,
some kind of relationship there, or like anyone comes? What's that relationship?
no. As far as the church goes, I wish we did, but because of how our funding is done and who the funder is, that part has to be kind of separate. We can't have, literature that deals with what we do, like a Tura and everything. It has to be separate from, we have a Bible in the, in the office somewhere. It's going to be way over here, separate from everything else, So that's why I think it's critical that we're doing this, because this includes, the Bible, includes the scripture, it includes, spirituality, it includes that relationship with a higher power. And I think, to me personally, I've been doing this for 7 years, that has been the missing component. There's no doubt about it in my mind that is the missing component. And I feel that if we can really get this thing off the ground and get this thing launched, where people are actually working together. I think in the last conversation that we had, people are thinking that this is a new idea, then, new to me, but, some of you were saying, oh, we've been trying to do this for decades. That's got to come to an end. We got to stop trying to do it and get it done.
And I would say you're already doing it. If you've got 9 facilitators, it's happening.
That's
Significant.
I mean, that's why we opened up a center, because
I know.
our work has been extremely impactful, and we've grown in leaps and bounds in a matter of 2 years.
Which is good, because that presence needed to be here, and it has been, but needed to be even more so for years now. It's 8:23, and I'm very aware that Sam has to leave at 8:30. So I want to open this up as much as possible. I know Karen has been really good in asking questions. She asked if the article that you wrote, if there's a link to that.
Yeah, I'll share that with you all next week, or next week when we talk. I'll bring it in. It's in a manual. I can't remember the name of the manual, but it's on like page 275. There's tons of people that wrote chapters. And they're all based on psychological perspectives and psychiatry perspectives and social work perspectives, and how we can do what we can do to try to have an impact on what's going on, because it's just really crazy what's happening. Because, I show videos that talk about fatherlessness and domestic violence. It's just not a United States problem. This is a global problem. I mean, this is all around the world, and every ethnic, ethnicity you can think of. It's just not the United States. I mean, this is a huge issue, and it really needs to be looked at and tackled in the right perspective in order for us to have some type of a positive impact on it.
If anyone has thoughts or questions, please raise your hand now, because Sam has a hard stop at 8:30 because of some training, and I want to make sure that questions and things get answered. I don't know why Karen is one of the co-leads with the domestic violence prevention via the Faith Community Collaborative. I don't think Sammy is with us, but Sammy in particular, the other co-lead, has been talking about men and also talking about clergy, stepping up into this area. And I'm wondering in the collaborative, what we need to be, helping to promote and connecting people to is the Fatherhood Campaign. And so we need to have that conversation. And this is really good, right? This is so good that we're having this one this morning. Any other thoughts or questions before Sam has to leave? Someone has asked, what is the name of the manual that your chapter is in? Do you know the name?
Let me look it up real quick here.
Because that would probably help. People could even probably search that. And you said it was on page 275. It's
Yeah,
so
275. It's a long one. Let me see. It's called here goes the chapter. The book is called, that's the proposal. It's called Empowering Students as Change Agents in Psychology Courses and Texts. And it's something that,
catchy.
yeah, but that's not the actual name of the chapter. Let me look at the book.
So that's not the name of the book. That's the
No,
chapter.
that's not the name of the book, but I might come back here and I can try to get it for you guys here. Let me see. I know I sent it to also Patricia. I sent it to some of my colleagues to read.
I'm wondering too, like, there's some folks here too with Bridges to Care. If this is a training that should also be offered on a regular basis in Bridges.
We can look at that, Ann.
Mhm. And I think some of us should participate or go and observe or whatever works, so we know what it is and start interjecting that in different areas and directions where it works.
Well, I'm having a hard time trying to find. I got so many. I got like 18,000 emails. So
It's okay, Sam.
but,
You're
but
gonna
I'll
get
find
it
it next time. I'm
and I'll get it
constantly,
out.
talking to CPS caseworkers and stuff, being that I still, not only do I manage, but I still do a lot of classes as well. So our
Karen
main
has her
focus is,
hand up. We have a hand.
okay, go ahead.
Hi, Sam.
Oh, hello.
I have a two-part question for you.
Cool.
In terms of breaking into faith communities, in terms of awareness of the pervasiveness of domestic violence, what do you think is the biggest stumbling block with that particular group, in particular, the faith community? And two, what is one step that individuals could take to respond to that barrier?
Being that I used to be one of those Christian people, I guess, I'll put it with a little finger thing there, where every time I went to church, I came home and I put a little notch on my bedpost. I said, okay, God, I went to church. I'm good to go, right? And then Monday through Saturday, I'd send, like a drunken sailor all week. And I go back Sunday thinking, I'm gonna, he's gonna forgive me again. I think it's getting out of that mindset that a lot of Christians have, that, that they can go to church, wipe all their sins away, and just do it all over again, just wipe it all away and do it. So for me, it's being that I lived that type of a Christian lifestyle at one time, is getting the people that go to the church. Because believe me, there's a lot of domestic violence in churches, and every single church all over San Antonio. There's domestic violence people in all of them. There's people that in those churches that, are sexually assaulting people or getting sexually assaulted. Everything that's happening that's bad in this world is in the church. And I think in order to fix that is that everybody and every pastor preaches it day and night, is people have to take that leap of faith, saying, hey, this is what's happening in my life. I need help.
It's the recognition of our common humanity,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Stop hiding it. Stop acting like you're Mr. Perfect when you're not, or you're Mrs. Perfect when you're not, and seek the help that you need. And the help that you're going to need is right there where you're sitting at in the pew, talking to the right people. These are the people that want to help you. These are the people that can, get you into, nonprofit organizations like ours that are going to be part of that help, not just the spiritual part and the relationship part, but the other parts that deal with our own, our own personalities and our own character and the principles that we have. We need to all work together with the churches and with the other organizations that's their focus. Just okay, how are we going to stop it? Because believe me, I know it can stop. There's not a doubt in my mind. I know it can. I know we can make a huge difference, but we got to start somewhere, and we got to be extremely diligent in doing that.
I have to tell you, it's 8:30, Sam. And you can thank your partner, Patricia. She found the book. She put the link in the chat. So you don't have to put that on your to-do list. She already done it. And thank you so much for being with us. If you could put your email address in
Oh, yeah.
chat.
Let me do
If
that.
people have further questions or thoughts, they can then follow up. I just really want to honor your time. I know that you made this happen, and so I'm grateful for that.
Okay, so
Others who may need, again, thank you so much. Thank Greg and Ramon for all you guys are doing, and keep doing it. And we're going to keep working together. So
yeah, and let's keep making sure we're doing these meetings and making sure that the one that we're starting recently, that we get it off the ground and just try to get people together as soon as possible. And let's just make an impact. I think it's a great idea that, you know, we have this citywide, you know, announcement, you know, billboards and flyers and stuff to, you know, and to show, you know, that just like what Patricia did years ago with the first ever domestic violence town hall meeting. I thought that was impactful. Ever since then, we've seen this huge rise in everybody trying to attack this, but we just always left out the church. So when this happened a few weeks ago, and I turned to Greg, I said, man, this is it, dude. This is it. This is what we were missing. And I really think this is what's going to happen. I think this panel right here is going to have probably the hugest impact on what we've been trying to do for all these years. So I'm very, very glad to be part of that as well.
Thanks, Sam. And for
All
all
right,
of those
I gotta
too
go.
that-
I gotta do some more training for domestic violence. So I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen, but take care and God bless. And hopefully we'll see you again.
too. And for all those others who might need to leave at this point, thanks for being with us today. Next week, the plan is to have the League of Women Voters with us, nonpartisan, talking to us about resources that they have that are helpful and the importance, as we all know, of voting. Those who want to stay and to continue to talk about anything, I'm able to stay until a quarter till, so we'll just keep moving forward. Please look in chat. We've had several people put things in about the iftar dinner tonight, and you do need to RSVP. It is complimentary, but you do need to RSVP. They are inviting donations to the food bank. So that's there. And again, Patricia put in about the link to the book that Sam was referring to. I did want to, because I forgot. You know how that is. You say you're going to attach something and then you don't actually attach it. But the notification I sent out yesterday about this morning, I also said that I was going to attach this flyer, and I did not. So I'm going to do it right after this. I'm just going to respond to yesterday's email. But maybe some of you remember Erin Brockovich, and a movie was done about her where Julia Roberts portrayed her. That was in 2000. So some of us are showing our age. If we remember it, I remember it. But anyway, she's going to be in town, and I will send this out right after this meeting to the same list from yesterday. Somehow or other, I forgot that. So we got folks who are still hanging around. So why are you hanging around? It's your forum now. Thoughts, questions, why you're hanging around? We can continue absolutely the conversation that Sam started and that we're already in. Or we can all raise our coffee mug to each other and say, have a great morning. Sure.
May I make another
Yeah.
announcement?
Yep.
Great.
They're all sparkly when they come from where they are.
In this wonderful intersection, Norma, who is so active in the Baha'i community, found out that at Incarnate Word, we were having a series this year really focusing on care of creation. And on April 19th, we are having an Earth Fair. And we're really, really hoping that our Baha'i, our Jewish, our Muslim, our Sikh, our Buddhist partners might all be a part of that Earth Fair, April 19th. So please write me and we can get an exhibit table. And anybody else who really wants to focus on care of creation, sustainability issues. Please, please be with us. So I'll put that in the chat box again.
Okay, thank you. And Sam did put his information. I'm just looking at chat again. So it has the RSVP in there for tonight. It's got the link for the book. Other thoughts, questions, life happenings?
I have an announcement.
Go, Patty, go.
I would like to announce that today at 3:00, we are doing an event at the Mennonite Church where we're going to release our 3rd year report of the work of the Collaborative Commission on Domestic Violence. And we're going to meet with the media and answer their questions about the report. They've already received it. And so we're going to get together the leadership of the committees, all the different subcommittees of the Collaborative Commission on Domestic Violence are going to be present to take their questions about the report. And so that's going to happen today between 3 and 4 o'clock at the San Antonio Mennonite Church. And so I did want to let y'all know about that. Everything that we do in the community as a collaborative is on that website, ccdv.org. If you are interested in what we're up to, I don't know if the report is already on the website. It might be. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that this morning, but the release will happen today between 3 and 4. It'll soon be on the website, so all of y'all will be able to access it and look at it. And if you have questions or comments, or would like to be involved in some aspect of it, there's several committees, and I know the faith community has a subcommittee that's part of the CCDV that's headed by Reverend Ann. And but there's like the legislative committee, the judiciary committee, the nonprofit committee, the healthcare committee, the law enforcement committee. I mean, there's all these different committees that are working on the issue of domestic violence. But we could always use your experience, your knowledge, your input. This work has to be community informed, please. So, get involved, speak up, say something about what more needs to happen. Okay.
One thing
Actually,
I
I
want to
have a
mention.
follow-up question to that, Patricia. Ann, am I on the faith committee for the CCDV?
The collaborative is the committee.
Okay.
That's it. You're co-facilitating and leading it.
That's
Well, I
right.
didn't know if it was something more, as Patricia was describing all these committees. I thought maybe I was missing something.
Oh, you're it, girl.
Yep, we're it. But I do want to say to everyone that and maybe Patricia can talk about it even more so, but we've been working towards this for years to get the faith community more involved. And it's been a struggle, but the Valentine's Day gathering that we had at Tri-Point has really helped increase the participation. So even within the collaborative, our community collaborative, so we got 2 collaborative talkings here, the larger community collaborative on domestic violence, which is city and county. And then within that, they have committees. So Patty's talking about the committees, but we have our own community collaborative that acts as that committee within that structure. But we've had far more participation in that collaborative since Valentine's Day, and things are happening. In fact, maybe Bill, we've got about 5 minutes left. Bill, could you give a report? I know that WestCare has been working with sacred.org in terms of billboards and other things. Bill, I'm putting you on the spot, but could you speak to that a little bit?
So, yeah, so we met with WestCare after the Valentine's Day event, and we had a follow-up meeting with the collaborative. And WestCare is engaged in a series of research projects around domestic violence and crime prevention. And they have a campaign that's being launched later this year. And so, along with in collaboration with several other agencies. And so we've identified an opportunity where on Sacred, we can develop a domestic violence landing page, domestic violence resources landing page, which is similar to some of the what we call partner pages, kind of vertical resource directories around one particular issue. And it really comes in a 3-part piece that we put together, which is the immediate landing page is what we call immediate resources, right? So these are the things that if you need assistance right now, these are the things that you can do right now. And then there's and then the follow up to that is longer term resources. So these are the agencies and programs that do work that you might need once the immediate crisis has averted and you are in the recovery or healing stage or dealing with the ramifications of a traumatic event. And so those would be longer term follow up resources. And then there's kind of an FAQ process to get more information about whether you're a victim of domestic violence, or you just want to learn more about how you can be involved in the remediation of the problem. So we're talking to WestCare about doing that and seeing in ways that Sacred can participate in the project that's coming up. The idea was to have a kind of a central landing page on sacred.org that could be distributed widely to first responders, to outreach people that are working on the street, people that are working in the community, people in congregations, and it would be a very simple URL, sacred.org/domestic violence or something like that. And so it would be very easy to remember and very easy to distribute. And so that is in process. So hopefully we'll have something that we can announce and show you guys very soon. So not committed yet, but on the way.
Patty has her hand up.
Yes, I would also like to announce that I don't know if any of y'all were familiar with the City of San Antonio Police Department Family Assistance Crisis Teams. We call it the FACT program for short. And that's a program that the Peace Initiative created back in 1990. And when the city decided to start funding work on domestic violence, that program was one of the first programs that received funding from the city. They got a state grant to get it off the ground, and we're running it consistently since 1990 up until March 20th of 2020, when the pandemic hit and everything got shut down. And it's a program where we recruit, screen, and train citizen volunteers to handle domestic violence crisis situations. And we have been having trainings quarterly every year since 1990. And every time we do the training, anywhere from 40 or 50 to 10 citizens show up. And so that has a since 1990. Well, it got shut down due to the pandemic, but we recently heard that it's going to be re-upped. They've already hired a new director, and the police department is getting ready to relaunch that program to be yet one more resource added to responding to calls for domestic violence from law enforcement during peak times, which is Friday and Saturday nights from 7 p.m. until about 2 or 3 in the morning. And so all of that is getting ready to start happening again. And we're going to have our citizen volunteers out on the streets on Friday and Saturday nights. Some of them stay at the police substations, but others of them, the more veteran ones, will ride in the car with law enforcement and help respond to those cases of domestic violence. So I'm real excited that that's going to get reopened and restarted again. Our community needs attention on domestic violence from every angle possible. And this is one very important angle that's going to get restarted.
It's 8:45. Patricia, how many years have you been doing this work?
Since 1979.
There's a question in chat for
There's a
Patricia to
question
share
in
that
chat.
information.
I can't answer that. I don't know yet.
It's a coming.
Yes, it's
So,
coming.
before we opened the Zoom this morning, I was telling early comers how I've picked up a new practice of gratitude. And because I think most of us know what just being grateful, how that helps us in neurologically, in terms of our health, in terms of our outlook on life, the list is long. But the practice I've picked up recently is that when I find myself grateful, especially towards others, my next step is to tell them so and why. And so, Patty, thank you for your work since 1979. You have never stopped. You have persistently and quite clearly been not only a voice, but literally compassion in action, developing things like FACT that are then, the police department takes it over and you don't care. You just care that it's happening.
Right.
And you don't stop. I was thinking at one point, and so I'm going to encourage you as well, but what happens when Patty's not around?
Yeah, because I'm getting ready to retire sometime soon.
So, I mean, that's the same thing that was not the same exact thing, but with like the Peace Center. And so that was one of the reasons the Peace Center has moved and finally gone to college, but it is now with Northwest Vista. And so, we want the Peace Initiative to continue. So however any of us can help with that, Patty, and ongoing leadership or what that means, invite us in and let us help in that transition. Because I can tell you, as somebody just going through a transition like that, it's not necessarily easy, but it's really important. And anyway, thank you. I'm grateful. It's 8:48. Have great weekends, and I will see you next Thursday at the intersection. And maybe tonight at iftar.